Hi, this is Sarah with We Live Entertainment, and I'm speaking with.
Maricarmen Merino.
And thank you so much for talking with us. Can you tell us a little bit about the film Abril?
Abril is a film about a woman, a mother, a lover, a worker that is trying to find her way in life through the huge conflict that she's living with her teenage daughter and trying to figure out like a new way of understanding her life, her love, and her relationships.
Yeah. And then, if I remember correctly, you have a background in documentary filmmaking. So how did you go from doing that to developing this story to starring in it?
I have been working for the past, well, I started filmmaking and then I've been working very intimate documentary portraits of my family and of the most close relationships in my life. And for the past 7 years, I became a mother 7 years ago. So I had been exploring and filming like what becoming a mother had meant for me and what it meant for me as a daughter also in my own relationship with my mother. So when Hernan came with this project that I had been closely accompanying him through the development of it, like it just felt like a very organic way of pouring into fiction many of the questions and dilemmas and joys and fears that I had been like exploring through a documentary lens in my own life. So I feel it was like a very organic way of just exploring another way in which I could talk about the same issues that had been in my heart and in my mind for a long time now.
That's beautiful. Yeah, your portrayal of Abril is so beautiful and so nuanced. You know, she's a complicated, sometimes challenging character. So what was it like to play a character like that on screen?
I think that it felt very close to me in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see all these moments of tenderness and love, but also all these moments of anger, of fear, of questions, of hurting others, of being hurt by others. Like I felt that it was such a complete portrayal of what being a woman and a young mother meant to me, at least. So even though of course I was having to live in imaginary circumstances, things that were written and were not my life, I could relate so deeply to each of those moments and find truth in them from my own real life and experience. So I hope that that's what at the end people feel when they see like the performance in the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely palpable, you know, in the movie where, I mean, she's like a real person, you know, she's not just one-dimensional cookie cutter, you know, kind of character. One thing I noticed is that there's a huge economic disparity between Abril and her ex-husband, where he just has so much more money, you know, than she does, and it kind of impacts the relationship with the daughter. Why was that important to show in the movie?
I think that, well, that politically and structurally it's a reflection of what happens like around us in even in more developed or less developed societies. I think that this still is a huge issue that women have to deal with, economic inequality, but also like the fact that Abril in many ways is in this present situation because she, when they became both parents, she had to sacrifice in some way part of her autonomy and her development as a professional, and in her, even if it's not like a very, if it's in a more subtle way and not portrayed like if there's a villain and then there's this victim, I think that it's a much more complex portrayal of how throughout their lives, in for a man and a woman that have become parents of a little child, yes, like it has been much more easy for him to build like his own career and to keep on developing his passion and like his calling. And for her there have been much more challenges, but also I do think that Abril, that even if it's there present in the film, this is not a main issue for Abril, right? Like she clearly is having to deal with much more stress economically, but she doesn't want to depend also on her ex-husband's wealth, or she's really trying to build her own life autonomously and with enough freedom and strength to try to sustain her daughter and herself.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about her character is like there are moments where you can see on Abril's face, you know, that she's feeling insecure about the, you know, the disparity, but she still shows up. You know, she doesn't just stay at home, and like you said, she's not a victim.
Yes.
One of the biggest parts of the film is the love story, or the affair that you have. Or I shouldn't call it an affair, but the relationship that you have with Francois Arnaud. What was it like to work with him?
I knew Francois from before, and we are good friends. And I think that we have had a very close, intimate relationship as friends, like for a long time before the film. So I felt that when we were just doing the film, like it all felt he has obviously a professional background and experience that was huge. So he's a great actor, but also he had like such a generous way of just helping me in a way, just remembering that the only important thing here was to be present and honest in the present moment, and just listening and feeling what was going on between us. So I think that all of these like huge thing that could go around and scare a person like me that has no acting experience at all, like he just made it feel so simple all the time. Like, okay, it's like you and me having a drink here and talking about this stuff. And so it felt like really fluently real and playful, and yes, just like an extension, I think, of the love that I know we have for each other, and just being able to live it under imaginary circumstances.
That's so cool. What is one thing that you learned while making this film that you'll carry with you on future projects? You know, whether you're acting or if, you know, you go back to documentary, like what's something that you'll carry with you into the future?
Well, I do think it has to do with the joy and playfulness of this process for me. Like, I think that as a filmmaker, like my own projects that I do as a documentary normally come very charged, like with the pressure and expectation that they should be something, or that this is what I am, so I should do this in a very good way. Acting was something that was so new for me that I had no expectations at all. So I just entered like this playing experiment that I took very seriously and in which I poured my heart into it. But I just really enjoyed it. And there was, you know, like if I failed, it was like there was like no load on me. If I achieved something that we had to, I just enjoyed that. But there was a lightness to it all that was very profound in its meaning for me, but at the same time reminded me that the most precious thing in any art project is sharing the time with people you love and that you admire, and playing around trying to communicate things that matter to you for others. And I think it was a really beautiful experience in that sense.
That's amazing. Who are some international filmmakers, or you know, any filmmakers you like that that you wish more people knew about?
Well, I have a deep love for documentary filmmakers, women documentary filmmakers, many of them. I love Naomi Kawase. and her cinema. I mean, she has also made fiction, but the first things that I think I watched in my life were her documentaries about her own relationships with her own history, with Japan, with her family, with becoming a mother. And I mean, I know she's now really well known and awarded, but I think that her documentary films are much less known than her fiction. And I think that she's a great teacher of bravery and courage in making films. I'm also from Latin America. I love Tatiana Hueso. She's also a Mexican filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker that has inspired. She was my teacher at school, but also like her films, I think, have like the perfect balance between being so intimate and personal, but at the same time politically urgent and huge, right? And Lucrecia Martel, she's another filmmaker that I love from Argentina. And well, I mean, I'm talking just about women, but I think that I would encourage many people to see. I know that right now we're in the United States, and here there's great cinema being made, but I think that there is a mainstream of cinema that it's beautiful, and but that there are other alleys and other places of the world where very brave, courageous films are being made.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing those names. Yeah. Last question for you: do you have any words of advice for anyone, whether they're just starting out or maybe like stuck in their work, just to get them going?
Well, look at me right now. Like I'm not an actress. I had no experience like performing, and I just embarked in and took a huge risk of thinking like yes, maybe I could do this, maybe not, and I'll fail. But I guess that sometimes our fear of failure is so big that, I mean, I say it for my own experience also, that it blocks us and paralyzes us from taking the risks that also can bring the most joy and expansion in our lives. So I would just say that, to jump whenever you feel that there is a calling or something that feels true to your heart, even if you don't know, or you think you don't know how to do it.
That's perfect words of advice. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking with us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.